This is Talk is Sheep, the official podcast of the Wild Sheep Society BC, brought to you by Sitka Gear. Come along as we bring conversations that matter to you into the high alpine. This episode is sponsored by our conservation partner, Yeti. Thank you, Sitka Gear and Yeti, for investing in healthy wildlife and sustainable ecosystems. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Talk is Sheep. Today is epic. Okay, so we've got the finest of the finest. Wild Sheep Society BC's got some pretty phenomenal people, but we've got the top of the heap here. So we've got executive assistant, Miss Hana Erikson. She's doing all the heavy lifting behind the scenes for the Wild Sheep Society BC. She's turning red. This is epic. Love it. I love it when I can embarrass Hana. And for those of you that were at our Sleuth Conservation Mountain Hunting Expo, probably the best voice in the outdoor hunting community. So, and you've committed to doing all the anthems for all our events moving forward. So we're super stoked about that. And of course, we've got Rebecca Peters, chair of our Women Shaping Conservation of the Wild Sheep Society BC, and longtime supporter, longtime volunteer, and no stranger to the podcast. So, ladies, it's an honor, pleasure to have you both on. And you guys are coming off an epic adventure, which we're just absolutely elated to talk about. Welcome to Talk is Sheep.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
Thank you for doing your best to embarrass me once again.
Fantastic. So we've got a lot to catch up on. Obviously, Rebecca being chair of Women Shaping, there's so much going on, and we've had an epic year for that program. And Hana, you've been very involved as well now. So I know Rebecca's brought you into the fold, and you've been very, very involved in that too. So we got some really cool stuff to talk about there. And honestly, I've not done a deep dive on the cool event that you guys held earlier this summer, but more importantly, you guys just got out of the bush, and I see all smiles. I didn't see any dead sheep, so I don't know. We'll have to talk about that too and see what happened there. But really stoked to talk about it. So I guess let's tee this off with let's talk about the hunt. So we're coming off this amazing hunt, and I'll let you guys kind of tee it up. So I don't know sort of the organicness of all this, of how it sort of unraveled. So I'd love to talk about how the two of you, and obviously you guys work together, you guys are friends, but I'd like to hear sort of how this all came together to have you two go on Rebecca's inaugural sheep hunt. You are a sheep hunter now, Rebecca, like totally legit.
I am. It's exciting. Hana, would you mind if I just started it off from the very beginning of how I asked Hana if she wanted to go sheep hunting? So for the last couple of years, I have been wanting to find a sheep hunter because my husband had a sheep hunter, and for many other reasons too. It was something I really wanted to do on my own, and I really wanted to do it with another female. And so Hana came on last year, and we had been working together for a very short time. And then I listened to her podcast that you did with her, Kyle, and it just clicked for me. I was like, she's amazing. Like, I already thought she was amazing anyways, because I had been working with her for a little while, and we had a really good rapport, and we worked really well together. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to call Hana, and I'm going to ask this amazing hunter if she would like to go with a beginner. And I was really nervous about asking her because, it would be a hard yes for some people, right? So I was like, okay, no, I'm just going to ask her. And if she says no, that's okay. Like, at least I tried, and I would really love to hunt with her because we worked so well together, and we're starting a friendship. And so I called her up and I said, Hana, I have a question to ask you. I've never been on a sheep hunt. I'm still fairly new to hunting, although I've been around for the last 10 years. I'm progressing kind of, at my own pace. And I said, look, I've never been on a sheep hunt. Here's all the reasons why I want to go on one. I'm willing to put in the work. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get me there mentally, physically. And she instantly said, absolutely. Like 100%. And I was like, what did you say? And she's like,
biggest mistake of my life.
She's like, I would never pass up an opportunity like that. I would love to go sheep hunting with you, Rebecca. And that's kind of how it started to evolve. And that was last year. So I was really grateful. And when she said yes to me, that gave me the confidence even more to take on the challenge, that someone was willing to go with me, even though I knew nothing about it. So I really appreciated her yes. So that's kind of how it started for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Sucker born every day, eh?
So, Hannah, tell us a little bit about your thoughts, because as like I I've gone sheep hunting before. I'm no sheep hunter, but people reach out, oh, like, oh, you don't want to take me on a sheep hunt. It's always like, and I've taken someone a sheep hunt and truly regretted it. I like it did not work out well. And those listening, you know who you are. But so what was your thoughts on that, Hannah? You can share as much as you want to there.
As much or as little
But
as I want. No.
but I'm curious to think, see what your thoughts are, and sort of what your approach was to it.
Yeah. So the last probably 3 or 4 years, that I've gone through hunting seasons, my fiance has had difficulty coming on earlier season hunts with me. So probably 3 years ago, I actually took a friend's son, 18-year-old son, on a sheep hunt because it was that important to me to get up into the mountains and just be out there learning, getting better at sheep hunting. And that, like, ultimately that's the goal for me, is just to become the best sheep hunter and hunter in general that I am capable of becoming. So you got to put yourself into those situations, whether you have your fiance or husband with you or not. So yeah, so it didn't bother me to take somebody else that maybe I was still just getting to know, as long as I felt like they were going to be physically capable and mentally tough enough to handle it. And yeah, as Rebecca said, we had kind of been getting to know each other after I came on with the society. And like, I knew that Rebecca took very good care of herself, still does, takes very good care of herself. And you look phenomenal for your age, Rebecca. She's in very good shape. So that was huge, because if you go with somebody that is struggling physically, it is going to kind of bring you down if you're somebody that takes your fitness in the mountains seriously. So yeah, so I was happy to have somebody that was a physically capable partner. I guess you don't know about somebody's mental toughness and stamina until you're actually out there. Because people can talk a good talk, but there's a lot of men that break down in the bush and just can't handle the full duration of a sheep hunt. 10 days is a long time to go. 14 days is a really long time to go if you're strictly backpacking. And then on top of it, we got stuck for another 2 days after the fact while we were waiting for our plane to come get us, as you know, Kyle. So yeah, it's a long time to be in the bush, and even just to be, stuck in the tent for a couple of days in the rain while we were waiting for the plane to come get us. Yeah, as lots of people have previously mentioned on your podcasts, it's a mental game for sure. But yeah, decided to give Rebecca a chance and see what she was made of. And she was tough enough to last till the end. So pleasant surprise. Absolutely.
Awesome. So, Rebecca, I guess I don't even feel right saying you're relatively new to hunting, but I guess, like, if you look in the timeline, you could make that argument. You obviously went through the Women Hunt program, and you'd even hunted before that. So I think saying you're a new hunter is a bit disingenuous, but I guess maybe new to a serious hardcore sheep mountain hunt. And we all, there's the mental preparation. Of course, you and Colin have a phenomenal relationship. He's a very dedicated and very committed sheep hunter. So you have those conversations. But my personal experience, when I got off an airplane the first time and started, despite some of the training and everything, it all changes at that point. It's not exactly what you expect. So I'd love to hear your perspective when you sort of threw the pack on and, the airplane departs. I think you guys flew in, but doesn't matter regardless. And you're doing the pack in. Talk a little bit about that first 3 hours in the saddle when you're trying to get into the Alpine, and sort of what was going through your brain.
There were so many things going through my mind, but when the plane did take off, I was like, okay, like we are doing this. So there is no turning back, right? So I looked at my choices. You're there. So now you have to just really just throw yourself into it. And I knew that that was going to happen. I knew that plane was going to fly away and that Hannah, myself, and Hondo were going to be left here alone. There's nobody else around. And we're sitting on the side of the lake, and for most viewers know this, or most sheep hunters, when you get dropped off by a float plane on the side of the lake, it's not like a beach that you just get to walk along. I mean, there's the willows, like you're pushing your way through to find a place to set up camp. And I'm not gonna lie, like I'm a slightly fearful of like grizzlies and bears, even though I've seen a lot of them. We've had a lot of Cullen and I've had a lot of like not so great encounters with them, and so that's going through my head. So I load my gun. That's what makes me feel most comfortable. I feel very comfortable having my rifle in the backcountry, if I need it. So that kind of set me at ease. And I was like, you know what, just focus on the task. Okay, we've got all of our stuff here now. We need to go find a base camp. We need to set up. We need to get going. So I was able to like just get my mind wrapped around that and not worry about what it was going to happen from an hour or two. It really literally took us a few hours to take all the loads up to where our base camp was and go back down, grab more. We had like 3 different loads to do. And so I started to feel a lot of comfort in that. And Hannah's amazing. I mean, Hannah is really positive and outgoing and kind and passionate, but she's also really tough. And she can take charge and she can lead the way. And that just made me feel really comfortable. And later on that evening, we were able to get up a little higher and do some glassing. So that's how I took that first like half of the day after the plane left. And then, as we got into the evening, I was like, oh my goodness, it's going to get dark, right? Of course, it's going to get dark. We have daylight and darkness. And again, I just really just told myself, look, you've done this before. I have been out on overnight hikes. I've been out, I think, the longest 6 days on a backpack trip before. So I kind of knew a little bit and I could draw on that. And also, I heard my husband's voice in my head, right? Like, just one thing at a time, Rebecca. Just be patient, be calm, and just take this moment in, right? So that all really helped me after the plane left, for sure.
Um, and what? How about you, Hannah? Like, I guess you've mentored a new hunter, hey, before. Like you took your, you said it was a cousin or a nephew or something.
Well, yeah, I guess I called him my nephew because his dad and I and my fiance Kelly were all good friends, and yeah, he's just a young fella. So I guess for lack of a better term, I just called him my nephew on the trip because he's family.
Right on.
Yeah.
So, and so you've got a new hunter in the bush, someone new to the mountains. Any thoughts on that initial first couple days, and then at some point you go, okay, yeah, we made the right decision here, because there's always, like, you guys got through the hunt, which is phenomenal. Like I'll be honest, I did have a trip and I went with the guy, and he was out early, really early. So, and that happens a lot, right? So just the fact that you guys were able to stay the duration and above and beyond is phenomenal. And I know it's not easy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I guess so to back up a little bit, maybe like so choosing this spot first of all. Kelly and I had hunted sort of near this area before, and I'd always liked the looks of, what could be on the other side of the mountains. I'd heard some stories and seen some pictures of this general area before, and I actually wanted to go in there a couple of years prior with Kelly. It didn't end up happening because I let Kelly choose where we were going that year, and we didn't kill a sheep. But I can't say too much because we didn't kill a sheep this year either. But yeah, it was one of those places that I get really fixated on something. Put in a lot of research into a place and convince myself that this is the place that we need to go, and I have to figure out a way to get there and explore it more than anything, because I think mountain hunters, whether you're sheep or goat or high alpine mule deer hunters, whatever the case may be. We're explorers. We love to explore and see new country and places that, hopefully very few people have ever seen before. And so, lots of anticipation surrounding that. So that being said, I was very excited to take Rebecca, a fresh new face, into a place that none of us had ever seen before. It was going to be just a whole brand new experience for both of us. And I think for myself, I probably, when going with anybody, perhaps initially, I really do take a lot for granted. I feel really, really comfortable in the bush. I was explaining to Rebecca at one point on the trip, I'm like, it sounds silly, but to me, we could be hundreds of kilometers away from civilization, and it doesn't feel any different to me than being 15 minutes outside of Williams Lake. It all feels good. It all feels like home. And I think lots of mountain hunters probably do feel that way. But yeah, that being said, I think I definitely do take lots for granted taking a new hunter out and just kind of getting ourselves geared up and set up. And as Rebecca said, we set up a base camp there. So our initial plan was to set up our base camp. We were going to go to one area for several days, give it our best shot. If we weren't successful in that area, kind of regroup back at base camp and then head to another area for several days. We ended up getting some information from a well-meaning gentleman actually at the float base, just like an hour before we flew out. So he gave us some direction on where he had been told that we should go into the area, which it actually was one of the areas that we had looked at. But it did change the whole dynamic of our hunt. It completely rerouted our plans for the beginning of that hunt. I think lots of people experience that. You get some last minute information and you're like, okay, this is good stuff. This guy probably knows better than I do. We got to act on this, make hay while the sun shines. Sorry, long-winded answer, but yeah, I guess for me, I was more focused on just getting there, figuring out the area, and hopefully getting the job done and finding sheep. And I just trusted that Rebecca was going to be, a steadfast partner to go with. Like she said, sort of, I guess, gave her some direction on setting up camp and what to watch for, and try to put her at ease about grizzly bears. I think which Hondo I think also did a great job of, or my German Shepherd is a phenomenal watchdog. Just trusted that we were going to accomplish our goal, and she lasted. So.
Hana, I just want to add to that too. You're right. There's like a trust. You have to trust in your partner. I mean, this might be a funny joke, but somebody told me that it's harder to find a sheep hunter than a wife. And it's true. You need to trust in them, and you need to have faith in them, and you need to be there for them, and they need to be there for you. And I think that doesn't happen easily. I think you really have to feel that person before you even get dropped off by the float plane, right? So I had already had this like huge amount of trust in Hana, and and she had trust in me, even though she didn't know what I was maybe completely capable of.
Let's talk a little bit about the preparation for the hunt, and more so from your side. Rebecca's a new hunter, and just sort of, or like a new mountain hunter. Sorry, again, I keep using those words, and that's not fair to you. I don't mean that. So talk about your mental preparation. Was there a lot of dialogue with Hana and Colin? Just trying to understand what your preparation was like. And then I know you put quite a bit of effort into fitness as well. Maybe talk about some of your preparation for that.
Yeah, for my mental preparation, I'm always working on that. That's like an everyday thing for me. But I did really amp it up over the last, 9 months before my sheep hunt. I just started doing things that I didn't want to do, really hard things, and doing them on days where I didn't feel like doing them. And even those little small things, like for instance, I started wearing Colin's weighted vest on walks and hikes around my home. And there was so many rainy days during the winter and the spring that I didn't want to do it. And I made myself do it. And just little things like that, and listening, asking Colin to tell me different stories about different situations that he's been in out there and how he tackled it and what I need to do to tackle it. And it really just comes down to like, you have two choices out there, really. You're going to climb that mountain or you're not going to climb that mountain. Or you're going to get up in the morning or you're not going to get up in the morning. And really, you don't have a choice. You need to get up and you need to go and you need to move. And you need to just tell yourself that. And that's just what I did over and over again. And it actually became like a rhythm out there. And I really enjoyed that kind
It
of
was a forced march.
It was a forced march, but I actually, by the second day or third day, I really enjoyed that. I'm like, I think I got this. I know how to pack up my pack. I know how to put our stuff away and then we just go. And you get into this routine and this rhythm and I really liked it. And so mentally I was able to handle that.
Ladies, can you talk a little bit about, there's that getting so far outside your comfort zone, really, and like to me, that's what sheep hunting is. Like that's the heart of what sheep hunting is. It's just like nothing's familiar as a general rule. You're so far outside your comfort zone, and there's no easy out, right? There's just no easy out, no matter what you do. Like, we're best case scenario, you want to get out, you're looking at 1, 2, 3 days. Like it's, so talk a little bit about that experience for you, Rebecca. Like I know you push yourself a lot and do new things, and so, but sheep hunting is an extreme, in my opinion. So maybe touch base on what that was like for you.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was really hard for me, like mentally, to take on this challenge. I knew I wanted to do it. I knew I wanted to do it without Colin by my side. Plus, he already had a sheep hunter. I didn't want to take away his sheep hunter. This back then at the time, he had a sheep hunter. He's kind of switched up now, but I really wanted to make this happen for myself. And I had to ask myself some really hard questions like, what do you want? How are you going to get that? What are you going to do to get that? And, my very first, and this is a long story, but my very first observation as a hunter, we were in a very serious accident where we almost died. And I've carried a lot of that with me. I've worked on a lot of it, but I've also carried it with me a lot. And so sometimes I freeze up and I'm just like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. But that wasn't the case with this trip. And I had to, I wanted to do it so I could prove to myself that fear wasn't going to control me anymore from that accident. I mean, that was a long time ago. I should just be able to put it behind me and move forward. And so this trip gave me that opportunity to show myself that I'm not afraid and that I can do this. And I want to do this. I wanted to climb those mountains. I love being outdoors. I wanted to do the things that I hear my husband talk about when he comes home from his sheep hunts and the stories that Hana has shared with me from her mountain hunts. That was just so important to me as an individual for my growth. And I was able to do it. And I honestly, I know we didn't harvest, but I'm so darn proud of myself because it's probably one of the biggest challenges I've had to overcome was being out in the backcountry, alone with Hana and Hondo, and I did it, and I came back, and I'm safe, and I'm it's awesome.
I just want to add real quick to your credit, Rebecca, and not to, I'm not saying this to throw you under the bus by any stretch of the imagination. It was a impressive moment, or a couple of moments actually, where you did say during a couple of scenarios that you felt uncomfortable and that you indicated that you weren't really sure what to do going forward, and you worked through it. You did, like, you had the mental fortitude to kind of block out your fear and just slow things down and work through those scenarios that scared you, rather than trying to run from them and pulling the pin on the whole thing, really. So good job.
Was that day 11 when I had like a breakdown, a little mini breakdown? I had a little mini breakdown and I started crying. I'm just going to admit it. I started crying, and Hana was so amazing. She didn't just not say anything. She asked me some questions. She talked me through it. We figured it out. And then she gave me a hug. And I was like, it was exactly what I needed. I needed a perspective from someone who was sane at the time and could understand that I was having a really rough moment. And she helped me work through that. So
well, good. Yeah, good for you. No, I was going to pick a scenario that was much less dramatic. Yeah, no, I was just thinking about you going over that massive boulder patch when we were going around the side of the mountain
Oh
there.
yeah.
You bumped your shin and knocked rocks over, and you're just having a heck of a time, a horrible time getting around there. And at one,
I was.
yeah,
Those big boulder rocks, they're like my nemesis. Like you're walking on them, and it happened to me 3 times. We're steep around a mountain with those big boulders. You put your foot down, another big boulder comes like roaring down and like almost on my foot like 3 times, and it really freaked me out because I was like, if it had landed on my foot and I didn't have the agility to like jump out of the way, how would you get that off my foot without having to call SOS, right? Like it freaked me out. I don't like the rocks, okay? I don't want the rocks. I know it's part of it. I got to learn to accept it.
Um, touch a little bit on your physical abilities and your mental toughness, and like usually the weak part's the mental toughness, right? Almost always. So talk a little bit about, was there ever a time where you're like I'm just physically, my body can't do it, where it was, if it was not mental, it was more like physical, or was it always just the mental game on the mountain? And both of you, Hannah, you probably were running circles up there because you're
Hannah
a little
is
mountain
so
goat, but
Hannah is so physically amazing. Like you should see her plow through some willows. I'm not even joking here, you guys. Like I didn't see her break once on this trip. She just kept going. That's what you got to do. You just got to keep going, Rebecca, is what she told me. It's hard to like articulate more to that, but you just have to keep going. And she was amazing. But Hannah, sorry, you talk about
oh
that.
no, no,
Maybe
like I feel
maybe
like,
you
yeah,
did
no,
have some moments.
no, I don't need to say anything. This is all about you. I can't say anything. I'm super fortunate. I don't feel discouraged ever on a hunting trip. I don't. Like this is what I live for. It's like it is my one life's passion is hunting and being in the mountains and just becoming a better hunter every single time I go out. That is my goal every time. And there's pretty much nothing that I don't like about it. I just I feel very at home. I feel very happy. And yeah, if I could spend every single day of all of hunting season somewhere uncomfortable and cold up in the mountains, I would be a very, very happy person. But I really, yeah, I can't say anything negative about it. I'm sorry. I wish I
Yeah.
could, but
It definitely showed, Hannah, and for me to be able to see that and witness that, that was just like an extra special part for me because I know that maybe one day I can be there. I'm not there right now, but like just to see you in such an amazing space and just loving every second of it was just really touching for me to see. Great mentor, for sure.
oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
very cool. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the highs and lows. So let's start with the low. We'll start on the negative and then top off with the good stuff. So I think you touched a little bit on it. You mentioned day 11 there, Rebecca. I don't know if that's it, but maybe touch a little bit on sort of the lows and then sort of, when you, and it doesn't include when you get back to civilization. You can't do,
Yeah.
it's so funny. There's so many times you get out of the mountain, you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad to be back home. And like 2 days later, you're like, I just want to be back in the mountains, right? Like how often does that happen, right? But
100%.
it takes that perspective to get there. But okay, let's start off with lows, and let's start with you, Hannah. What was kind of what was one of the challenging times for you on that hunt that you were like, kind of.
Hmm. So, yeah, so Rebecca mentioned me plowing through willows. Like I envisioned like a bull moose or something just plowing through the alders. It's not a super flattering image. But yeah, no, so Rebecca's nemesis is the boulders. I think they're kind of fun. It's like a little. Rebecca actually put it at one point on our trip. She's like, "Oh, it's kind of like a puzzle." This is when she actually decided to embrace the boulders and enjoy them a little more. But it is. It's kind of like a little puzzle. So, but my nemesis is definitely the alders and the willows and the ones that have grown over horse trails that have not been used for 15, 20 years, which is what we encountered. And especially being the person in the lead, trying to, blaze the way in an area that you've never ever been in before and make good time and get to the destination that you have set in your mind where you're actually going to really start sheep hunting. So yeah, I think it's always a little bit challenging being the person that's in the lead. especially when it rains and all the water is coming off the willows and the alders, and you're just, yeah, smacking you in the face with wet alder branches. Yeah, that's not fun. But I think, yeah, probably not that I found any points to be super low, as I just explained, but I guess the lowest point for me was some of the information we had got from this very kindly gentleman at the float base. He had indicated that he was told on good authority that there was a spot that would take us approximately 5 hours to hike into. He showed us on a map, 5 hour hike to get into this place, and then we would be back into some really good sheep hunting. And so that's what we planned for. So we packed a week's worth of food from our base camp, and we started heading down the trail. And it took us, long story short, it took us 2.5 days to get into this place. And it was 2.5 days of like, well, no, I would say probably 80% of it was like solid, like hardcore bushwhacking, where every once in a while you would get like a glimpse of the horse trail and you'd be so excited and you'd be like, finally, we found it. We can follow it all the way now to this, to sheep heaven. And we'd get about 100 yards down the horse trail and the trail was gone. So more bushwhacking. So yeah, so that was probably the most frustrating part, but it's all part of it, But like I say, you got back into some amazing country that most people will never ever get to see in their lives because we pushed through. And if we hadn't have had that information from that gentleman, we might have got back a day and a half and still been bushwhacking and been like, this is retarded, like we're going back. But we didn't. Because we had that little carrot dangled in front of us that didn't get us a sheep.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, were there any outfit or any other hunters in the area or the outfit? Did you see anyone back there?
No, that's the primary reason I chose this area is because like no resident pressure. Heard stories of big rams coming out of there because as Wild Sheep Society of BC representatives, we want to harvest big, old, mature rams. We don't want to kill baby rams. So yeah, so that was that was our goal, is to get back in there and harvest some big old mature rams in an area that most people never ever go to. So no, we at one point we heard 2 gunshots on opening day, for lack of a better term, probably a mountain and a half away from us. We believe it was the outfitter that maybe they took a ram, maybe they took a goat, maybe the guy missed. We still don't know to this day. And we didn't have enough time to investigate because we'd only packed a week's worth of food and we had a total of 5 days travel time. So we didn't get to go find out.
Yeah, cool. Rebecca, you're low.
Well, I had a few lows, and I'll be honest for the listeners, especially anybody that's new to sheep hunting. Day 11 was really tough for me. I got in my head, and I think this might be a common theme among people who went in just before August 1st, but it was really hot.
Oh yeah.
It was like plus 30, and the mosquitoes were relentless. Like I wore a bug net on my head from 9 a.m. till 10 p.m. at night. The only time I took it off really was to eat or go in the tent. They ate my face. Like
they loved Rebecca.
They really loved me, and they chewed on my hands. They bit me in the like I had to wear gloves. So, you're clothed at plus 30 carrying a heavy pack. And so mentally by day 11, I was like very frustrated. I was tired. Had bug bites all over me. I had bruises all over my body. We had long days. Like I think our longest day was like 13 hours. And so I broke down. And that was the day we did the boulders. And I realized that I was breaking down. But at the same time, on the flip side of that, I was still so proud of myself. I was like, hey, you're still here. You still have an opportunity. You still have a chance. So like get yourself together or go home, right? Like you really have to be tough with yourself. Like you have to say those kind of things. You really have 2 choices. And at the same time, it's like, I'm not going to go home because that means Hannah has to go home, right? Like there's another person with you. You can't just leave. Like you have to trust in your partner that you guys are going to do this together and you're going to stay and you're going to work it out to the end. And so day 11 was really hard for me. And then I started to get like a little day 12, I wasn't feeling very well. And so I was like, oh, I got my stomach and like the food. I don't know what it was, but I could feel myself slowly breaking down. And then, those were the day 11, 12, and 13 were my toughest days, really. Um, and, uh, and yeah, I just had to keep myself together, and I did it, and I'm proud that I did it. So,
I wanted to add something to that, if I can, really quickly, about pushing through day 11. So Rebecca and I had, like we'd slog through the bogs and the mud and the bush and the alders and the boulders and everything else for 11 days. I still hadn't come up with a ram, but we had a good feeling about the spot that we were headed back into. And Rebecca pushed through that day 11. And it was a very small little victory in the grand scheme of things, like hunting wise, but we crested over this little bit of a pass in the mountains, and just a beautiful, beautiful spot. Like, we were way up on top, had a little stream running through the pass, had a nice little spot to set up a sill tarp, because we decided we were just gonna sill tarp it there for the night. And we get there, and there's sheep beds with ram tracks in them. Great big sheep tracks in the beds that had probably just been sort of washed out a little bit a day or two before. And that was like the freshest sheep sign we had seen on this entire trip, and sort of gave us this little beacon of hope, and like, okay, like, we know we're on the right track now, like, we're finding fresher sign, and gave us a little bit more to work with. And we never ever would have known, to this day, we wouldn't know that that's where the sheep kind of wanted to be if you hadn't have pushed through that. And to me, that's a win, because now we know.
You got your X for next time.
Yeah, that's right.
So Rebecca, back to your low point, just out of curiosity, is it one of those things where the old Jack O'Connor saying, like, a sheep hunter will either, they're hooked and they'll do it for the rest of their life, or they'll never be back on the mountain. So do you know which one you are?
I do. I really do. I am already planning next year um, to go back out and do it again. And I have friends who are non-hunters, or just maybe don't do a lot of outdoor stuff. And they literally ask me, why would you want to go do that again? Like, I tell them everything I've done. And, until you're out there and you see those beautiful mountains and the sunsets, and nobody's out there, and it's just so simple. It like, in my head, it's more simple than being in society sometimes, that I can't pass that up again. I want to go back and do that again. So, yeah, I'm a yes.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Well done, mentee. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so the highlight, what was it almost sounded like your finding sheep sign was the highlight for you, Hannah. Was that your highlight story, or do you have a better one than that?
Oh, I got a few highlight stories, actually. Not that I want to take up like all the airtime, but yeah. So finding sheep sign, definitely super high, because man, like, we hunted hard. We spent lots of time in every area that we went. Glassed our faces off. Like, I feel like obviously there's always things to learn and improve upon, but I feel like we did a good job. We hunted really hard, did well. Just low, like, really low sheep density there. A very low sheep density there. We saw one group of ewes and lambs and young rams in one area, and then another group of ewes and lambs. And super high note on the second group we saw was almost every single ewe had a lamb with her, which is also kind of remarkable, because there was lots of predation taking place in the area. When Rebecca and I were first hiking in our first day, we looked over to our left, and on the left-hand side of where our lake met the creek was a very freshly killed, very large bull caribou. That the wolves had obviously killed it, because it had been fed on in the lake, and if a grizzly had killed it and eaten it, it'd be buried. It wouldn't be left in the lake. So we knew there was wolves in the area. And which led to another highlight, because on our way back out of the first spot that we went into, we really wanted to be super thorough before we left the area. So sat down that morning and started glassing the cliffs above us, because as Rebecca said, it was like unbearably hot, and the mosquitoes were just like unlike anything I've ever seen. And everything we saw, the sheep, the caribou, everything, they were all hanging out up in the cliffs. So yeah, spent a few hours glassing the cliffs there, and I put the binoculars down just to give my eyes a break, and I saw this slim little black thing on the horizon, and brought the binos back up, and it was the black wolf. And yeah, so that was super cool. So ranged it immediately because I wasn't, you don't get very long to kill a wolf when you see them. Ranged it, and as soon as I ranged it, it popped out of sight back down the way that it came from. So I told Rebecca to get her gun ready. So we had bipods on our guns, and we had like a really good spot. We were up on a bit of a bench, sort of looking down towards where this wolf had come from. And so, yeah, pulled the bipods out on the guns, got everything set up. I dialed my scope. I'm not sure, Rebecca, if you dialed anything or if you're just getting ready. And then Rebecca was standing there glassing the area looking for wolves. We were thinking we were gonna howl and try to get him or hopefully a whole pack to come out. And as Rebecca's standing there, the little dummy popped back out again. So I'd already ranged him, so that was good. And then Rebecca reconfirmed that he was 281 yards. And yeah, so just dropped down to my gun and didn't want to waste any time, and settled the crosshair. He was facing us head on, so I didn't have a broadside shot or anything, so it wasn't super optimal, but take it where you can. So yeah, aimed at the bottom of his chest because I knew my gun would shoot a little bit high, dialed for 300, and pulled the trigger, and it was lights out for the wolf. Instant death. So he didn't suffer. It was good. Yep. Yeah, I'm right up in right up in sheep country, and so yeah, so we saved some sheep. So that was super highlight. And then
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. And then literally the very last day, I think most people wouldn't call this a highlight, but it was a win for me. The very last day, Rebecca and I set out before we were going to head back down to our base camp to get flown out, which didn't happen. We decided we were going to head out and check out this mountain that was sort of above where we were camped, and just see in a last ditch effort if we could find any rams there, because we had an inclination that the rams had headed that direction. Well, what we thought were rams headed that direction. And Rebecca had to turn back because she was just feeling really sick. She'd caught a bit of a bug up there. So Hondo and I carried on up the mountain. My plan was to go around. Instead, I decided, because it was just me and him and I was feeling a little reckless that morning, decided to climb over the top instead. And it was blowing and hailing and like windy like nobody's business, and it was just a miserable day. But got up on top there, and like glory hallelujah, I found fresh sheep sign everywhere, absolutely everywhere. Like fresh poop. You could see where the rams had been rubbing their horns on some of those little scrub spruce trees up in the alpine, and yeah, it was like sheep heaven. There was just sheep shit everywhere. I couldn't believe it. So we found, the very last day, we found out where they wanted to be. And unfortunately, I think because it was blowing and it was so rainy and nasty, they were all kind of over the edge where I couldn't see them, hanging out in the little scrub trees, just trying to stay warm and dry. So I never ever did see them, but I know they were there. So that was a big win. That was a big win for when I go back.
That's awesome. Wow, that sounds really cool. Rebecca, what was your experience when you guys seen the wolf and you're glassing, and then he popped out? Talk about a little bit your experience from your perspective.
I just thought it was so cool. I mean, I have only seen a wolf once before, years ago, and like briefly for not even a second. He came out of the woods and then went back in. That's the only time I've ever seen a wolf like live there. And when he popped up his head out of the willows, I was like, I just didn't even know wolves did that. I didn't know they let you see them for so long. Like, I thought he was pretty close. So I thought that was so cool. And he had just like this black face and big ears. And I was just like, he's really curious. And then Hannah's like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready. And then I'm like, actually, we don't need to howl for him. His head's back up again, like his chest and his body. And so then that's when she took the shot. And I just was like, this is awesome. This is so awesome. Like, we had just earlier in the morning been glassing and saw like lambs and ewes. So, I don't know if there was any other wolves in the area. Usually they do travel kind of in packs if I'm not incorrect in saying that, but he was kind of dumb. Like he showed his face to the wrong people, to the wrong girl. So it was really awesome to see and be a part of. So I was really happy for Hannah for getting on it.
Right on. Okay, so couple quick ones. What were you guys shooting, both of you?
I love this topic.
Uh, I have a Weatherby Camilla. It's like more of a women's gun. It's a shorter stock, with a 6.5 Creedmoor.
Okay, what scope?
Lycra.
Okay,
Like,
cool.
yeah.
And how about you? What were you shooting, Hannah?
So Rebecca is going to upgrade her gun for all the listeners out there.
Yes, just to whatever Hannah's going to tell you what type of gun she has. I'm probably going to upgrade that for my sheep hunt.
I am shooting a Fierce CT Rogue in a 300 PRC, and I have a Zeiss Conquest V4 on it, 6 to 24 illuminated reticle, and shooting the 212 grain ELDXs out of it.
Isn't that kind of a girl's gun?
No, I know it's a pretty wimpy gun. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe someday I'll be big enough to shoot a 6.5 PRC.
That's awesome. Cool. Okay, so and is that a Wild Sheep Society BC version?
Oh, how can I forget? Yes, yes, it is.
Okay.
Thank you for asking. Yes, yes, it is. Yep.
Cool. Awesome. Well, very, very cool. So obviously that 300 PRC is a killer. It knows how to kill wolves anyway. So
Yeah.
that was your
No,
first animal with it?
no, actually. Yeah,
You took a bear this spring.
I'm even more. I'm super lucky. That thing shoots like a son of a gun. I got it last fall. I got it last fall, and I really, really wanted to take it out for a late season deer hunt. And yeah, so my brother and I went out on a mule deer hunt right at the end of the season for a few days, and I found a very nice, respectable 4-point buck, and got him at 486 yards. That was the first thing that I shot with that. And then, yeah, this spring, got a bear for a friend that needed some meat, and now a wolf. So yeah, that gun's a killer. It's good.
Wow. How about you guys? Did you guys get to the range much ahead of time? Did you guys do much shooting at all?
Yes. Yeah, very important.
Yeah, I did too as well. Definitely.
Where were you shooting, Rebecca? Were you in town, like in Abbotsford, or where'd you go?
Yeah, so Colin and I are members at the Mission Gun and Rod Club. So the furthest I was shooting was only 300 yards, but I took that and practiced that, and yeah, that's the best I could do without having to leave the city or go somewhere else.
Awesome. Cool. What else? What are we missing? We've talked lots here, but obviously I'm picking and choosing what I want to hear, but I'm sure there's some really cool stuff you guys want to share. What are we missing?
Can I share our goat story?
Oh, I'd forgotten about the goat story.
So on day 11 as well, or no, this was day 12. Sorry, let's get past day 11. And no one wants to hear about
we made it through
day 11 anymore. We, the whole time, had not seen one goat. And, Hannah and I had many conversations about this. I'm like, we're not even seeing a goat. Like, I mean, a lot of this had to do with the weather, like being super hot, like that, the critters weren't coming out. The bugs were bad high, they were bad low, like, so they were hiding. But we were just really just fascinated with the fact that we hadn't seen a goat. So the morning of day 12, after sleeping under the sill tarp, we finally saw a goat. And he was a really nice looking goat. We figure, Hannah, maybe he was like 4 or 5, something like.
Yeah, probably 4. He was young. He
was young. So we watched him for a while, and that was kind of like one of my bigger highlights because we got to see him, we got to watch him, and we both obviously passed up on him because he was just not what we were looking for. Obviously, he's much smaller, but he did have a really nice body on him, like a real big kind of gorilla form, but he had like the smaller kind of horns, and like a little bit more of a baby face. So that was so exciting. Like I finally got to see goats. I love watching goats as well. They're so mystical and just just beautiful creatures as well. So yeah, I did want to mention that we were able to see a goat.
Would you say that was the highlight for you, Rebecca, or is there something else too that comes to mind as well?
Um, I think the whole trip, honestly, I know people are going to be like, no, come on, pick one thing. But the whole thing was just my highlight. Just being able to do it, Kyle, being able to stay out there for that long, having someone I trusted and a friend like Hannah out there just made the trip really amazing. Um, and so uh, I think honestly, Hannah and Hannah, I'm putting Hannah and Hondo together. Hondo and Hannah were like so amazing, and I just so enjoyed the trip. So it was everything. I loved everything about it.
And really, that's what we talk about, like at our horn aging courses and our stuff is this mentorship piece, right? And like the most important thing you can do is have that mentorship. And there's nothing worse than two people that don't know what they're doing out in the bush and trying to. And I'm not saying don't do it or you shouldn't do it, but it's so much more challenging. And that's not even on the horn aging side of things, right? So it's so amazing to have a mentor. What was it like? So. Of course, Rebecca, this is like a very serious 16-day backcountry mountain hunt, and for you, Rebecca, this is kind of your first experience, I guess, mentoring another woman. What was that like? Was there, I guess, any different? I guess it's just Rebecca's just another hunter, man or woman doesn't really matter. But these women hunting programs, the Women Shaping Conservation, Women Hunt, the WSF program as well. It's really really cool, and I think it's amazing. And this like to me to have an experienced hunter in you, Hannah, and then taking Rebecca out and that being able to mentor her and be there for her, it's really really cool.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think I'm not the world's greatest sheep hunter by any stretch of the imagination. I've only harvested one stone sheep in my life, but um, uh, I think so. I would say what is probably most important for um, somebody looking for a mentor to take them on any kind of a hunt is if you can find somebody that just has a great level of comfort in the surroundings that you're in. If you're meant, I think, based off of the feedback that I got from Rebecca during and after the trip, if you're going with somebody that feels very comfortable in their surroundings, that's going to translate to you as a newer hunter. You will feel comfortable because your partner feels comfortable, and that kind of makes everybody feel safe and like you're going to get through it and everything is going to be okay. If you're hunting with somebody that maybe doesn't have that level of comfort in the bush, you might kind of always be just a little bit edgy. And to that too, I cannot recommend enough having a good, well-bred, well-trained dog. That is so like I've talked to Kelly about this before, my fiance Kelly, and I talked to Rebecca a little bit about it on the trip. Like I've actually very seriously contemplated going by myself with my dog on sheep hunts, just hiking off the Alaska Highway, places maybe where I don't have to hike 2.5 days through the alders to get back into a good spot. But I feel such an added level of comfort and safety knowing that I have Hondo with me. He listens really well. He's not afraid of anything. You hear stories about dogs taking off after bears and then bringing the bear back to a person. I've got it. I'm very fortunate to have a dog that if he decided that a bear was a problem, that bear is going to have a bad day and he's not going to let up. And I would say that's something that is very important to consider. That being said, a bad dog can absolutely wreck your hunt too. So, yeah, there you go. That's my takeaway.
Does Hondo carry his own food?
He does, yeah. I tried to help him out a little bit when he was getting played out because it was a long haul. So sometimes I'll carry some of his food for him just to be nice, but for the most part, he carries his own food. Yep.
Yeah. What was it like for you, Rebecca, when the float plane showed up? Because I know you guys, keeping in mind for our listeners that you guys sat there for 2 full days and weathered in too before you could get out. So
And
what
we
was that
still like each
experience
other.
Yeah.
like?
We actually still have some cribbage wars we have some crib games that we have to finish off to see who's actually the winner. Um, when it came, like, you know, okay, so for that 2 days, they're like, okay, we're coming. And then they try to get in 2 days in a, or 2 times in a row. Our pilot tried to come in and he was 8 miles away from us, and just a storm wouldn't allow him to come any further. And then he had to go back. So for 2 days, yeah, he's coming. No, sorry, he can't get in today. Yeah, he's coming. No, sorry, he can't get in today. So you have like this roller coaster ride for those 2 days where you're like, and you're packing your stuff. Like you're not just sitting in your tent. You're packing your stuff. You're ready to go. No, not coming. Okay, so you got to unpack, put everything out again. Okay, they're coming. Okay, you got to pack your stuff, get going. And this happened, and by like the night before we picked up, both Hannah and I were like, oh my goodness, like I just really hope we get picked up tomorrow. Like, and we're just like, okay, whatever, we're gonna be here a few more days. We kind of just thought we might be here till Wednesday. And then we were sleeping and we heard the float plane above us at 6 a.m. in the morning, and we were just like totally out of it. We're like, oh my gosh, the float plane's here. And so we just hurried and shoved all our stuff in our pack, and it was amazing. We were just like, yay, we're rescued.
It's weird how these pilots have this uncanny ability to show up when you least expect them,
Yeah.
and you got your basically get you with your pants down. It's like this ability they have every. There's never been a scenario where like, oh, I was expecting you. It's always like, holy shit, they're here now. Get going. It's like I don't know how they do it. They're gifted. Awesome. Well, what a fantastic trip, ladies. I'm so happy for you, and can't wait to see what's next. Amazing. So, um, now we got an incredible program through the Wild Sheep Society BC. Your brainchild, Rebecca, and it's been a phenomenal program for the society. It's been a very exciting year through Women Shaping Conservation. And I know I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole in terms of the program and how it started, because we've done that on the podcast before. So any listeners, just listen back. Rebecca's been on several times, talked about the program. But if you could, maybe give us a highlight of a couple of the events that have gone on this past year. You've had a great year for the program, and just touch a little bit about some of the stuff you guys have been doing.
I will. Thanks, Kyle. So for this year, we did an event called Aim for Impact, and it was in partnership with the Abbotsford Fish and Game Club and Silver Corps, Reliable Gun. And what we did is we put on a shooting day, a shooting event day for women. You know, it gave them the opportunity to try out different firearms in a supportive environment, get hands-on experience and just learn new skills. Some of the women had never even held a firearm. So we did that event in April. It turned out really, really well. It turned out so well, we are going to do it again in 2026. So for the listeners, if you want to pass it on to any of your female friends, we are going to hold this event again because it was such a success and women wanted more of it. And then another event we did just recently, Hannah was lead on this event. Hannah actually came up with this idea. It was called Elevate, and it was a backcountry hike for women to join. And I tell you, we had no idea that these women coming on this event, we had no idea it would impact them that way. You know, Hannah and I just wanted to take them on a trail up to the Alpine, sleep overnight, come home the next day. And all of these women had different stories. They came from different places and they had their own challenges. And so we have decided that we're probably for 2026, we are going to have two separate experiences. The first one will be, we're going to increase it this year, or for 2026, it's going to be a 2-night overnight backpack hike for women. And then the second one that we're going to do is going to be an extra special one. It's going to be, we're just in the planning processes of it now, but it's going to be a youth backcountry event hike. And that youth can bring their parent of their choice. So this is open to men and women. And we're going to go on an overnight hike and get, you know, more women and families together to just share that experience of putting a pack on your back, going into the Alpine, sleeping overnight. So I do just want to say, though, that all of these events that we've done this year and the ones that we're going to do next year, all of the funds raised from these events go directly to the Wild Sheep Society BC, and everyone on the committee and anybody that helps out with them, they're all volunteers as well. And those funds will be obviously directed towards any of the projects that the society is doing. So really exciting year for us this year. Next year is going to be even more exciting. We do have an added event again for 2026. We're going to do inner city fundraiser. Um, and Carmen Waters will be the lead on that one. And it's either going to be like a pub night or a line dancing night. And we're going to bring men and women together. And all of the funds from that also will be directed towards the Wild Sheep Society of BC. So really exciting times for us. I'm looking forward to 2026, although I don't want 2025 to end yet. Next year will be just as good. So
Phenomenal, and hats off to you, Rebecca, and your committee and all the volunteers. And I know, Hannah, you've been incredibly involved this year with the program as well. And just for our listeners, the one thing I noticed about the Women Shaping Conservation events, they were intentionally like smaller. They weren't designed to have hundreds of people. You guys, you sort of limited it in that capacity, Rebecca, and they sold out instantly. So, if somebody's thinking about it, there'll be lots of notice, and we'll have it on our socials and we'll share it. But I wouldn't recommend people wait around, because they, like last year or this year, they just sold out so quickly. And I know you're expanding it, but it's going to sell out for sure. So awesome. So Rebecca, the program's been around for 3 years now, give or take. Any takeaways, any thoughts on it? How are you feeling about everything? I know from my perspective, I just love to see the growth and what's happened this past year. But what's your feeling as chair?
I think that we've found kind of the type of events that work well through this program, through the Wild Sheep Society of BC. And we found women who really want to participate in conservation and in hunting, and even non-hunters are joining these events. So I think that we found something that works for women here in BC. And like you mentioned, they have been smaller events or smaller programs that we've done, but the feedback that we've gotten from the women, the impact that it's made in their lives, was something I didn't really even think about until we started getting it back, and that more women are stepping up and they're wanting to participate in these types of events. They're wanting to get more confidence in the outdoors. They're wanting to have their children be in the outdoors. And so we're starting to get a lot of people reaching out to us asking, what can I do? How can I help more? Can I, can I be a member? What do I need to do to be a member? And those kinds of things. So I'm just really excited about that, Kyle. There's always a chance that a program might not work out and might not be needed, but I'm really feeling that this is going really well, and that there are lots of women out there that want to be a part of this. So that's really great.
Well, awesome. Just congratulations to you and your leadership on the whole program, Rebecca. It's been awesome to watch and fun to be part of. So really exciting that you had such a great year, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, we've spent a few minutes talking here. What are we missing? Is there anything that we want to wrap up, or any parting words of wisdom now that you guys are like the sheep hunting duo?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Yeah, I don't think you're going to hear anything too wise coming out of me. Take it away,
Well,
Rebecca.
awesome.
I think that we covered everything. I mean, it was an amazing trip. I learned a lot, and I honestly just really feel blessed and grateful to have this opportunity, and even to share it with some of the listeners that may be new to sheep hunting or something else too. So yeah, thank you for having us on, Kyle.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for the chat today, and yeah, very inspiring. It's I knew Hannah, you had the inReach and you were touching base a little bit, and I was quietly waiting to see how it was going, but I wasn't going to bother you. I wasn't going to be the guy texting, wow, what's going on? You got to give me the update. So I was kind of getting the odd update from Colin, like, and then I thought it was pretty cool that you're like, hey, Kyle, I'm going to be late for work. I'm like, that's awesome. That's the way it should be. That's great that you guys are having a good time, but maybe for the wrong reasons being weathered in, but amazing trip. So congratulations.
Best boss I've ever had. What boss is like, what? You're going to be stuck in the mountains? You're not coming back to work? That's awesome.
Yeah.
He was secretly waiting for me to slip up and reveal my location on the invite.
I was checking location services, I'll be honest with you. Yeah. But when you came out and told me you were unsuccessful, I wasn't quite as enthusiastic. So, yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you both for your time today and appreciate it. And congrats on a great hunt. Amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.